Betting Network.
Welcome to the Lombardi Line. I'm Michael Lombardi. Today we're joined by Will Hill again, filling in for Dave Ross, who is taking a little bit of a Thanksgiving holiday back in his home state of Virginia. We miss Dave, but we appreciate him. I'm sure he's prepared to play and ready to go for his Dallas Cowboys. Will, good to have you. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. This is a big day. You going out tonight, Will?
No, those days are long gone. But yeah, I love this time of the year. Sports on all the time. College basketball on until the late hours last night. Then we get all the games tomorrow. Black Friday's a great day. So fun time of the year. Did you trying to think back? You were AFC a lot. Browns, Patriots, Raiders. Did your teams play on Thanksgiving a lot ever?
I lost you for a second. Go ahead, Will. I lost you. We keep breaking up here.
Did your teams play on Thanksgiving a lot? Because you were with the AFC a lot. Raiders, Patriots, Browns.
Yeah, we did. We played one year. We played up in Detroit with Barry Sanders and Scott Mitchell and got roasted. It was embarrassing, And actually that year, that was 1989, we went on. We lost that game, and then we went on to limp our way into the playoffs. That's when the Browns finished ahead of the Steelers in 1989. But it's so difficult there. It's been hard when you played at that old when you play at that old Silverdome. And all of a sudden, you got Barry Sanders and you're trying to tackle him. It wasn't easy. I could still see Harlan Barnett, the defensive coordinator who was at Michigan State last year, try to tackle him, and he spun in the hole. And next thing you know, Barry Sanders is in the end zone. So it wasn't really much fun, and it was rather difficult. So, it was hard.
Yeah, was that a Madden game? Because look, it's you still love having these games. It's just, man, when it was Summerall, when it was Madden, Barry Sanders on TV, it was just that was the best.
Yeah, it really was. But, we got, look, I think to me this is going to be interesting because when I was going through my notes and prep for the show today, I didn't realize Dan Campbell hasn't covered on Thanksgiving Day as a head coach, which was surprising to me, when you look at it and what he's been able to do there in terms of rebuilding the program. But, they've been, as of for the Lions, they're 2-1 against the spread. They're 0-3 straight up. So it hasn't been a slam dunk like you'd think it would be. And I think we're seeing that reflective in the line as it's coming down to, it was at 10.5. Now I think it's down to 10.
Do you take any stock in the fact that the Bears played them well last year? Because I think this line's a little high. The Bears beat them 28-13 last year.
I do, but
yeah.
I do put stock in that. I think to me it's a challenge because the Bears are set up. They're like the Colts, right? They spot drop in zone. And when you're a spot drop in zone team, it's like Bud Carson said, you're going to make the quarterback look better than he really is. And that's the Bears. That's the Colts. That's a lot of these teams that run this scheme, this one, for lack of a better term, this Pete Carroll scheme, which makes it very difficult, and we can't, and you can't really function very well with it because unless your front four really puts pressure on the quarterback, it's really challenging. So I think to me that's what worries me. I think that there's going to be a lot of throws Caleb Williams is going to make, and he's going to be able to. Look, let's face it, the Lions, we're not sure. They had two corners out last week, and then they lost another corner in the game. Are they going to be healthy for the game?
Yeah, and go back to last year, 28-13, the Bears won in Chicago. In the game before that, the Lions won. Remember, that was the game where the Lions were down big late, I think down 12 with 4 or 5 minutes to go, got a couple touchdowns and actually stole the game. But Goff threw 3 picks in that game. He wasn't good in the game in Chicago. So if I had to bet it, I would take the points. Now, I think in terms of like when to bet it, this is interesting with Thanksgiving because I'm not a big trends guy, but favorites have done well on Thanksgiving, which makes sense because it's going to be a day where the favorite – you're not going to catch them off guard. They're not going to lack motivation. It's a standalone game. Crowd's going to be fired up. And just from like a betting standpoint, you get a lot of recreational money. A lot of people on their couch, eating, betting, having a couple drinks. They want to throw in bets. And those type of bettors usually tend towards betting the favorite. So I think this line will go up, if anything, especially with the way Detroit is just killing these numbers, killing these teams. But look, I think the line is a little inflated. I know it's scary stepping in front of Detroit, but are they really just going to win all these games by, 20, 30 points the rest of the year? I'm not sure. So if I had to bet it, I would bet the Bears. Do you have a lead in terms of the spread here?
Yeah, I think I would bet the Bears too. I mean, look, what worries you about the Bears isn't so much that their offense, because they've been better with Thomas Brown coordinating the offense. It's been, can they get control of the game with their defense? But 10 points, it, to me, seems like an awful lot of points in this game, especially with the rivalry, especially with the way the Bears lost. Look, they played Minnesota toe-to-toe. You know, we saw them do that. We saw them, you know, were able to play Green Bay. It went to over the last two games. For whatever you want to talk about the Bears season, you know, it's been a disaster when it comes down to the Hail Mary and then not being able to make a field goal to beat the Packers. But they've been in games. It isn't like people have walked in there and routed them like the Raiders or like the Giants. I mean, they're a competitive team, and I think 10's really rather disrespectful to the Bears. I don't know where that comes from. I know that last week was a ho-hum win for against the Colts, where they just didn't even give up a touchdown. They dominated the Colts game. But I feel like, to me, this should be a better game, especially on Thanksgiving Day, Will. And then after that one, we're seeing movement in the Giant game. The Giants are going down now to 3.5. People are gathering on the Tommy DeVito. But I said it after the game. I thought Tommy DeVito got hurt in that Bucs game. They killed him. They just destroyed him. And then yesterday we find out that Brian Daboll said that he's sore. He's going to play, but he's not 100%. And I don't even know if 100% is good enough with Tommy DeVito, let alone 80%. What do you think?
100, not 100%. Tommy DeVito is a scary proposition. He's, to me, look, I remember from college, he's just not an NFL quarterback. I think people betting the Giants is taking a shot that Locke might play. And then if Locke plays, hey, that's a lot of points. You know, these are two bad teams, but Locke is at least, I don't know, what would you say, a middle-of-the-road NFL backup? He's at least a respectable player, where DeVito is not. So I think people are just taking a chance. Hey, if Locke plays, I got a good number. And if DeVito plays, then, you know what, I can just get off it, or it's a fair line. So I think this is anticipation that Locke might play. The only problem with betting the Giants, and I'll just ask this bluntly, are they tanking? Are they trying? Because they take Tracy out of the game. They put DeVito in over Locke. Do you think the Giants are tanking?
No, I don't think they are tanking. I think they're trying to win. I think they definitely are. I just think, to me, that they just aren't good enough. And because they're not good enough, you know, and they don't have a quarterback, and they have really, I mean, for all the Malik neighbors complaining and going through all that stuff, for all that, I mean, you know, they have no ability to make an explosive play. It starts with the quarterback. I mean, look, DeVito comes in and he averages right at 6 yards per attempt. It's the same thing with Daniel Jones. He couldn't get the ball down the field. Now, if Daniel Jones goes somewhere and plays, I don't know if he's going to decide. I'm sure he's going to decide today whether it's Minnesota, San Francisco, or Miami. And I think there was one other team that he was talking to, playoff contender, Baltimore. So I think when he makes that decision, if he actually plays in a game and he throws for over 7 yards per attempt, then we know it's the Giant offense and it's the Giant offensive line. But look, I don't care who you put behind this line, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, they're going to get hammered. Now, maybe Dallas doesn't have enough rush if they can double team on Parsons, but the way Dallas rushed Daniels last week, you got to feel like they're going to be able to come after him. I think the question is, we got two really bad quarterbacks on Thanksgiving Day with Cooper Rush and Tommy DeVito, and which of the lesser two evils? I thought Cooper Rush, he couldn't drive the ball over 15 yards down the field, Will. I don't know how they're going to make an explosive play in Dallas.
Do we have clarity on who's the other tackle for the Giants? Illuminor, because if he doesn't play,
well, they got Guyton, and they replaced Guyton because he gets too many penalties. But he's really actually their best lineman. And Steele, we know, is a marginal. But look, I don't think the Giants are able to really rush well enough. I mean, they lead the league in sacks, but Brian Burns got stiff last week against worse. I mean, against good tackles, Brian Burns isn't nearly as good a player as everybody perceives him to be. He couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. Thibodeau's had 2 sacks all season. That hasn't been very good. And so it's really a challenge for them. And then, of course, they never play from in front, so it's really hard on them. You know, and then the fact that for all this talk, remember in Hard Knocks where they talked about, we're going to hire Shane Bowen because he's going to protect our defense, and we're going to look at what did Daboll say? Look at these numbers. Look at his run defense. Let's just hire him. How's that run defense worked out for the Giants?
You know, it's funny with Dallas, too, because it's a little odd for them to be bad on Thanksgiving. I mean, we watch Dallas every Thanksgiving, and look, Jerry gets a lot of crap. They get a lot of crap, and rightfully so, because they haven't been to a Super Bowl, haven't won a Super Bowl, but they're usually pretty good. Like the Dak teams, the Romo teams, they've been good for a while. So it is unusual here for Dallas to just, you know, be a non-factor in terms of like one of the bad teams in the league. Are you taking it or laying it here, the 3.5? If you tell me who's playing quarterback, that would determine it for me.
I saw this on credit this to Bet Labs. Since the start of 2023, we've had 6 quarterbacks who with at least 100 plays. And DeVito ranks. I'm sorry, we've had 64 quarterbacks with at least 100 plays. Okay, DeVito ranks 56 in EPA, sandwiched between Zach Wilson and Bryce Young. You think I'm really going to go with that? He is 63rd in success rate between Bailey Zappi and Drew Lock. It's hard to bet on DeVito, isn't it?
Yes, I think DeVito's unbettable. If you gave me Lock, I would look towards the Giants. I think, too, they were so embarrassed. It was so public how bad they were last week, and neighbors complaining about Dable and everyone calling out their effort. Are they tanking, all that stuff? I would think just as professionals, as competitors, you'd come out and you'd get their best punch this week. Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I do. I think when you get embarrassed like that, and then you watch Saquon Barkley on Sunday night embarrass you even further, I think you got to have some form of motivation to come back and play with some sense of urgency. I think that's the only way to do it. I really do. I think that's going to be the hard challenge.
Yeah, it's look, we'll all be watching it. It's football. It's on TV, so we can't complain too much. And again, to me, it comes down to who's playing quarterback is who I want to bet on.
Yeah, no question. Well, when we come back, we are going to continue our conversation about the Thanksgiving Day games. We didn't even get to the Miami game. We're going to talk about the Miami. Tua playing in under 40 degrees. You don't want to look at those numbers. And then we'll also talk about the Black Friday game. So stay with us here on the Lombardi Line. We'll be right back.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Wednesday on Follow the Money, huge show, NFL preview, Thanksgiving Day games, Rich Gannon, Sal Palantonio, and Brad Powers on the final week of the regular season in college football. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter. This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The NBA action is in full swing. It's here to get even. Here's a way to get even more action following your favorite players. Playing Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official partner of the NBA. Super simple to get started. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Then select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat point, such as points, rebounds, three-pointers, and more. New Pick 6 plays can play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use code VSiN. That's VSiN for new customers to play. $5, you get 50 Pick 6 credit. Only at DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Welcome back to the Lombardi Line. I'm joined again by Will Hill. Will, thank you for filling in for Dave Ross. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Miami game. I mean, there's going to be – I think the pageantry of the game is going to be fabulous, right? I think, to me, you know, when you could see Lambeau Field there, you know, with the backdrop on Thanksgiving night, I think it's going to be just awesome. And the fact that we know that Tua has played in 40-degree or less temperatures 4 times. And his record is 0-4 straight up and he's 1-3 against the spread. He's failed to cover by 18 points. Give me your handle on this game.
Yeah, you don't want to oversimplify it, but to me, I want no part of Tua in the cold. Now, at least if you're backing Miami, there's no, like, the wind is mild. I think like 10 to 50 miles an hour, nothing crazy, no snow, no, nothing like that. No precipitation, no rain, no snow. The wind is moderate. So at least it's just cold, but we've seen it too many times. I mean, I can't get the Kansas City game, out of my head. And I know that was extreme conditions and they had injuries and that was minus 30 wind chill or whatever it was. This isn't that extreme, but still, we've seen it too many times. He barely has enough arm strength as it is, but when he's in perfect conditions, when he's at home, when he's against the bad teams, look, he's going to put up 30 plus points. It's just when he's against the better teams and he's in these conditions, it's a whole different team. It's a whole different quarterback. Look, Miami, they just have a feel of a soft team, a soft kind of, warm weather dome team. So I want no part of Miami. I want no part of Miami here. It'd be Green Bay or nothing. Where are you at with Green Bay? Because they're interesting to me. I think a lot of people, when they beat Dallas last year and almost beat San Francisco, should have beaten San Francisco. They came into this season, a lot of people's kind of trendy pick to be the Super Bowl contender. And they are a quiet 8-3, but do you put them on that elite level with the Detroit's Phillies? Obviously, they're not on that level, but where are you with Green Bay?
I think they're a level below that. I think there's some concern I have with Jordan Love. If you go over Jordan Love, his ability to be accurate with the football on down the field throws, his ability to be accurate in the intermediate passing game, and his decision making. Look, in that San Francisco game, he threw 2 picks. They just didn't catch him. And it wasn't a clean game for him at all. I think, to me, they do a really good job of, I don't want to say hiding him, but I think they do a really good job of masking some of the deficiencies that he has. I mean, if you look at his numbers in terms of expected completion, in terms of on-target percentage, and then bad throws, he's gone up from last year. He hasn't improved. What we saw with Josh Allen was he was horrible, and then he got better and better and better, and now he's really accurate with the football, which is unheard of in all annals of – he's an outlier. There's no question, because typically that never happens. But for me, I think the Packers are just a solid team. I don't trust them on defense. They haven't turned the ball. Last week they did, but typically they haven't been as turnover prone as they were earlier in the season, where that's where they were really making hay. I think that field really gives Green Bay an advantage. I mean, San Francisco missed more tackles in the first quarter than they missed all year. And if you don't wear 7-inch spikes in Green Bay on Lambeau Field, you're going to slip and slide. You're in the ice capades. It's all over the place. And we saw it with San Francisco. And knowing Miami, they won't wear them because the skilled players, they hate to wear those spikes. They're too heavy. They put their feet in the ground. But you slip. I mean, you slip too much, and it causes a lot of problems, and you turn the ball over. Green Bay doesn't slip as much because they practice on exactly the same field. And I don't know why it's so slippery. I can't really nobody's given me an answer on why it's so slippery. But if you don't, I mean, I've seen kickers approach the opening day kickoff and kick the ball and fall right on their butts. I mean, that's how bad the field is.
What do you make of Tyreek Hill's lack of production? That's one thing I want to hear your thoughts on. And 2, if anybody is going to break up a Lions-Eagles NFC title game in the NFC, who is the team that disrupts that?
Well, let's start with Miami. Let's go back to Miami. You called them a soft team. I think, to me, I think not only are they a soft team, but they are no longer making explosive plays down the field. They're 30th in the National Football League over the last 8 games in terms of gaining plays over 30 yards. Right. And they rank 31st in that category. Now, you could say, well, they missed Tua for some of it. OK, but the last 8 games, he's played 3 of them. So he's put some numbers into it. And he was playing earlier in the year. They're 31st in explosive plays. And then, they're 26th in 2-minute offense. So for as good as they are, where they're a nickel-based team, they really don't do it. Now, where they get into a lot of trouble in Miami is they can't convert third and short. They have no physicality up front. They really don't. I mean, they're the worst. They're 31st in the league in converting third and short. They're 25th in the league in converting fourth. They're 31st and fourth down conversions, 25th in third and short. So they can't really convert. They have no power run game. If the defense knows they're going to run at them, it's a real issue. So I think that's the struggle that Miami gets. They're going to have to play in playoff games. You've got to have the ability to handle the third and twos, third and ones, those third and shorts. You've got to be able to convert them, and you can't throw it all the time. It becomes a real issue. So I think ultimately what we have to figure out is how does Green Bay force them into those long downs? Because for all the conversation about their passing game, their third down, they're not as good on third down. If you can force them into 12 or more third downs, you typically win the game.
You're laying it here, I'm assuming?
I would. I think I would. I think Green Bay would. Look, they looked good last week. I think Josh Jacobs can run. Let's talk Miami's defense a little bit here, right? This is the third defensive coordinator that they've had in 3 years. Okay, so we understand that. And what happens is they're not very good at creating negative plays. They haven't really. Chop Robinson has played better over the last few weeks, but they haven't been able to really rush the passer to a degree. And I think they give you a lot of easy throws. I think this defense's mentality is, look, we're not going to give up a big play, right? They're 16th in the league in yards per attempt against them. And you could run the football on them, but we're going to bend, and then we're going to play good in the red zone. And I think that's going to be the key. I think ultimately it's going to come down to it. They're 7th best red zone team. And then when they get to third down, they try to be a little bit more creative. They're 5th overall in the league in converted third down. So I think it's a lower scoring game than people think it's going to be because we think Love and Tua, this is going to be. But I think the weather's going to affect them. Going back to Tyreek Hill, I think, look, people have figured out this offense. This offense it's all rhythm and timing. He throws the ball to spots. If you look at their hit chart, he's throwing the ball to certain areas on the field, and he's throwing it early so the defense can't get to it. So, yeah, I lean Green Bay here. I really do.
How about you're good with these? How about the coordinator matchups? Do you give any advantage to either side here, offensive coordinator versus defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think one of the hidden secrets here is Saleh's on the staff at Green Bay, right? So he comes in with a whole boatload of information of playing Tua so many times, right? And he can really help Jeff Hafley about, hey, this is how you have to defend the guy. You got to take away these RPO throws here, and you've got to really do a good job of setting the edge on both sides because they're never going to run the ball inside. They got no power. I think when you watch Philly play them last year, as bad as Philly was on defense, Philly understood how to take the game away from them. And now it's not easy, but you've got to really put pressure. We've seen this happen when they played against a good front. These tackles for Miami are not good. Kendall Lamb at right tackle is a liability. Armstead's always on the injury report. Whether he plays on a short week, that's going to be fascinating to know because he had a DNP yesterday. He didn't practice, which I'm assuming he'll go, but it'll be limited in terms of the game. So I think Green Bay with Robert Saleh gives them an advantage. And then I think LaFleur understands how to attack the Anthony Weaver defense. I think he'll be really good in that area.
Yeah, and I'm not buying this idea that Miami's going to chase down the 7th seed. I just think they have too much ground to make up. They have too much of a tightrope to walk. I know since he's in the mix, Denver to me is probably the most complete team out of all these. I just think they have to play San Francisco still. They have to play outdoors against the Jets, the Browns, this game outdoors. I just feel like they're going to lose a game or two, and there's too much ground for them to make up to get the 7th seed. Would you agree with that or no?
I do. I agree with it. And I think, you say, well, it's only 10 to 12 mile an hour. I think that kind of wind affects Tua. I think he needs a clear surface. And look, it's not going to be that cold. I mean, it's going to be 31, 32. That's not like sub-zero. I mean, I know it's cold, but it's, you should be able to function in that. And then we'll see if their defense. I think one of the things that happens in cold weather more than anything is tackling goes down. I think it's harder to tackle in cold weather than warm weather. I think it's really challenging. Everybody's cold. It's hard to get your hands warm, get your arms on people. I think tackling takes a hit. We saw that with San Francisco. Between the field and their poor tackling, I think it becomes a real issue. So, I mean, my sense of it is I want no part of it. I really don't. When we come back, here on the Lombardi Line with Will Hill, Tone Diggs from the Pat McAfee Show is going to join us, and we're going to talk about all the Thanksgiving Day games and perhaps some of his favorite plays of the weekend.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the sports betting network.
If you haven't become a VSiN Pro subscriber yet, now's your chance to start being smarter and save big. Sign up on our Black Friday special today and get VSiN Pro access for everything we do now through March 1st for only $60. Sign up and get access to our daily best bets, our exclusive betting splits from DraftKings, along with Circa Sportsbooks with trends and analysis to make you a sharper bettor. 24/7 video access, plus all our betting guides, best bets for the upcoming college football playoffs, Super Bowl, and of course, March Madness. Don't miss out our best new subscriber offer this year. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up for our Black Friday special now. That's VSiN, VSIN.com/subscribe. Welcome back to the Lombardi Line. I'm Michael Lombardi with Will Hill, and we are honored to be joined by one of the staples of the wonderful Pat McAfee show, Tone Diggs, who also hosts the Hammer Down podcast. Tone, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. How are you?
Gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving. It's always an honor having me on this program. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We are good. I want to start off. We'll finish with Thanksgiving Day, but what's your thought process? I know you're a huge Steeler fan. Thought process for Sunday. Steelers in Cincinnati. Line opened at 3. Typically, it moved to 2.5. The Mike Tomlin effect is into full force. What's your thoughts on this game? I know you're a Steeler fan, so you're thinking with your heart, maybe not your head. Tell us where you are on this one.
Well, they need it. They obviously need it. They can't lose back-to-back games to the Browns and Bengals and expect anyone to think that they're going to do anything. I was feeling really good after the Ravens win, and that's kind of just how the AFC North tends to go. Is the Steelers have been really good lately against the Ravens, and then just for some reason when they go into Cleveland, since Ben has retired, it's been a house of horrors. And then it's been kind of a mixed bag against Cincinnati. I'll actually be there on Sunday, so I hope they do well. Last time I was there, Duck Hodges came in late to give them a win over the Bengals. That's kind of how it's been lately. I don't know. I don't love that the Bengals are coming off of a bye. Now, Steelers got a mini bye kind of to get ready for this one. As long as they don't let Trey Hendrickson do what Myles Garrett did to them, I kind of feel good about their chances because of how poor the Cincinnati defense has been. I think George Pickens has a chance to get it going. And I love that the defense has got to come in. They have to be pissed after, kind of just giving the game away against the Browns. They had the lead. They had the chance to shut them down. They gave up a 4th down. Obviously, they gave up a 3rd and 7 as well. The Bengals offense is obviously very, very, very good, but this defense is highest paid defense in the NFL for a reason, so I hope they show up.
Tone, the Lions have been steamrolling everybody. They are laying 10 in the early game tomorrow against the Bears. Do you think that continues? Where are you with this game?
Because it's Thanksgiving, I'm going to bet all of them because, who wouldn't as a gambler on Thanksgiving when you're with your family? That's the only thing you possibly can do. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I took the Bears and they didn't cover in this one. Even though the Bears, I think the offense has looked better after Shane Waldron's departure. I thought Caleb actually threw the ball really, really well last week. But Chicago 26th in rush D, yards per rush, and 27th in pass defense, and Chicago's 0-3-1 on the road. So I'm not one to go against potentially the best team in the NFL, even though it's 10. It's not obvious. It's not the best gambler's side. I'm going to probably lay it early with the Lions.
Yeah, but I think to me this might be a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, the Bears have played the Packers, which is a good team competitively, had a chance to kick the field goal, right? And then last week they get the game in overtime. I know they were fortunate to do that, but I do think it's really more you're concerned about the Bears defense than you are about the Bears moving the football, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, the Bears defense, they were good early in the season, and then they gave up a bunch of yards to the Vikings last weekend. They haven't been as good as they were to end the year, obviously last season. But yes, I mean, if you're a Bears bettor, you're definitely concerned looking at their rankings, 26th and 27th versus a Lions offense that basically does whatever they want.
How about the next game? Giants and the Cowboys. I'm curious, who do you think plays quarterback? Who do you want to play quarterback? And where do you sit here with the Cowboys laying 3.5, 4, depending on where you shop?
It's a lose-lose game, I think, for everybody. This is everybody eat your Thanksgiving dinner around 4 o'clock because you're probably not going to miss much. But I'm going to be on the New York Football Giants here in this situation. I obviously don't love it, but I listen. I'm a Paisan. Lombo's a Paisan. I don't know if Will Hill-Leany is a Paisan or not. I love Tommy DeVito, but I would actually prefer Drew Lock as a Giants better in this situation. He's come in, in certain situations and spurts and looked really good. He's got the arm talent, obviously, but Dallas 0-5 ATS at home, and it's not looked good at home at all for them. And I just, I would love for the Giants pass rush to, make a difference in this one. And I think the Giants can run the ball a little bit here too. So if you're gonna give me the points here, I'm gonna take the points on the road.
Yeah, I think you have to take the points of the Giants. I know it's ugly, and look, you sit there and sit next to your favorite aunt or uncle and just amuse yourself while the game's going on, and then the fourth quarter, hope you're within the range of it. I think you have to do that. How about for the night game? We know this. We know Tua, and we know the 40-degree weather is certainly a factor. Arm strength. Can he drive the ball with the wind, 10-mile-an-hour wind? Not as much, but it will be a factor. The field's a factor. Green Bay needs this one. They had a great win against the 49ers, but it'll mean nothing if they lose to Miami. Where are you going on this one?
Yeah, both teams need this one. Dolphins kind of right back in the playoff hunt after this run they've gone on since Tua's been back, and they can't afford to lose any games if they want to make the playoffs. And you talked about it. Finns 0-10 in their last 10, losing by 17 in games under 40. This one's going to be well under 40. I'm going to take the Packers at home. I think I just like the makeup of their team a little bit better. I think LaFleur has actually been really good this year, just game planning game to game. No matter what quarterback's in, no matter what run game they want to choose to do, I think LaFleur's been really good this year. I think they're going to be able to run the ball, and I think they're going to be able to stop the run as well. So I'm going to lay it with Green Bay minus the 3 in Lambeau.
Tone, the Commanders are laying 5.5 to the Titans. They have not played well in a while. The Titans are quietly playing a little bit better this last month or so. Levis is playing a little bit better. Do you expect that trend to continue? What are you thinking in this game?
Yeah, last time I was on here with Lombo, I sent him over that I was going to take the Titans, and then I scratched it off because I think Will Levis was back in and Mason Rudolph was out. I mean, Will gave him another one last week. He gave him a pick 6, but he's looked better. He kind of hasn't done that in a few weeks before that, but he did it last week. But they still got the win versus Texans. I really like this Tennessee defense, especially against the Commanders who have been struggling. Also, Washington is 27th versus the run in yards per rush. So I think the Titans are actually going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to, play good defense. So I'm going to take the Titans and the points in that one, even though Will Levis will be the starter and he will do something stupid.
Yes, we know that. You can count on it. But I agree with you. I think this Titan defense is underrated. Even against the Chargers, a game they didn't cover, they were playing good, and the Chargers just got a lead, and Will made sure that they kept the lead with some of his decision-making. Tampa Bay looked really good offensively, and I know it was against the Giants last week. And Carolina surprised the hell out of me, scoring 27 points against a good Chief defense. This line is at 6 right now. You like Tampa Bay in this one?
Yeah, I don't love taking favorites on the road in the division, but statistically, I like Tampa Bay. I thought they looked really, really good last week. Also, they're trying to chase down Atlanta, who hasn't looked great. So I think Tampa's feeling pretty good about themselves. They got Mike Evans back. The run game has been really good for them. And then I kind of think Carolina put everything they had into last one, and the comeback, the touchdown, the 2-point conversion, and just to lose, just a kind of a deflating loss there. So I want to see how they get up off the mat. And I think Tampa, kind of takes care of business again this week, the same way they did last week. So even though I don't like taking division road favorites this week, I'm going to do it.
Tone, last 30 seconds or so. 49ers playing for their season. They're getting 7. Do you think they get their guys back? Do you think they cover here?
If they don't cover, it's the last time I'm taking the Niners for the year, and you guys are going to have to hold me to that because they've burned me all season long. But statistically, they have the advantages in every area. Buffalo's 30th in yards per rush defense, so can they get McCaffrey going? Can they get their guys back? This is the last chance, last hope. They need it. So I'm taking a desperate 49ers team plus the points.
Yeah, Will, I hope you're Tone, I hope you're right there. I agree with you. This Niner team, they're just not the same. But 7 seems to be an awful lot, especially if Purdy's going to play, and there's indications that he might play. Listen, have a happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate all you do. Love watching you on the Pat McAfee Show, and come back anytime here on the Lombardi Line. Thank you so much, Tone.
Thank you, boys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Tone. Happy Thanksgiving.
When we come back, we're going to continue breaking down all the Thanksgiving Day games. We're going to talk a little bit about Sunday games, and we're going to get Will Hill's take on the 76er game tonight, because there's no way I'm going to talk about it.
Got a good thing coming, so wait and see. It's a good.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to the Lombardi Line. I'm Michael Lombardi, Will Hill here. We're going to do something different that we haven't done in a while. We opened up my Twitter account. Elliot, our producer, Will, opened up our Twitter account, and we went into the mailbag. We opened up it for the mailbag and get some of our Twitter followers to ask us questions about what was going on around in their minds about what's happening. And so I'd like you to take part in this as well, Will. We can answer both the questions because I'm sure if I can't answer it, I know you can. So here we go. This is from Michelle, Misha2334. We appreciate the show. Avid listener here from Sweden. And I'm sure I'll get this anyway, but I get Detroit to -10. That seems like a hefty number. Seeing a lot of injuries piling up. Montgomery, for instance, thoughts? Yeah, I kind of agree. And the fact that Dan Campbell, Michelle, is 0-3 against the spread as the head coach of the Lions. I think these games, especially on Thanksgiving Day, are usually tighter than you think. Even Matt Nagy, will. Remember when he went up there and almost won the game? Remember the Lions were so bad? The Bears were actually a better team, and they struggled. It was a close game. The Lions gave them a hell of a game. I think these Thanksgiving Day games, the teams will play. Now, look, we know the favorites are usually pretty good in these situations, but I just think, to me, 10's a lot of points. If the Bears upset the Lions on Thanksgiving Day, it'll be the closing line. It could make history because the biggest – you can go back to 1993. Remember the Dolphins were +10 over Dallas? The Packers were +18.5 over Detroit in 2023. The Bears were, they were 8.5 over in 2023. The Bears were 7.5 over Green Bay in 15, and Seattle was 7.5 over Dallas. Those are typically the biggest lines. We're not used to seeing these lines.
Well, as a Viking fan, I will have I don't have any Chicago Bear jerseys but I'll find a Chicago Bear jersey to put on, maybe an old Curtis Conway jersey or something to put on, root for the Bears. These Lions just never lose. They never seem to play a close game. I know that was close against the Texans a few weeks ago, but that was even a game where they got 5 interceptions and they still won by 3. I actually think this will be close. I know it's dangerous to step in front of this Lions train, but I go back to last year where the games were the Bears were competitive. The Bears probably should have swept them. They won 28-13, and they had a 12-point lead with 4 or 5 minutes to go in the other game. Goff did not play well. As this question mentions, the Lions are beat up. I think the reason it's 10, I think they're trying to kind of divert the teaser money. At 8, 8.5, 9, you can put in your 6, 7-point teasers. At 10, you can't really tease. I think that's the reason it's up to 10, 10.5.
Yeah. And I think, to me, look, I know Ben Johnson's really good offensively, and I know Goff will know the coverage, but I think the Bears will play at a higher level defensively. And with Montgomery, as Michelle indicated, he's injured. We know Armand St. Brown, they're not all 100%. I think a win is more important for Detroit than do they cover the spread. All right, Dave Lawton, 20. On Twitter. Seattle's defense has turned it around in the last 3 games, but do you make much of Ryan Grubbs and the offense running a college-style offense and unable to establish a run game? Is it scheme or on the offensive line? I think it's a little bit of both, Dave. I think that this Ryan Grubb offense is very generic. It is very college-oriented. He has not been able to figure out how to run the ball effectively. I think one of the areas where we don't criticize coaches enough in the National Football League is their inability to figure out the run game each week. The good coaches, the good offensive coordinators can. The bad ones don't. Let's take Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. He runs the same runs every week. They don't do anything different to attack the runs, especially against an opponent that's prepared to play them like Detroit was last week. I think it's the same thing in Seattle. When you have a college offensive line coach, a college offensive coordinator, and you're trying to run a pro-style attack, the run game is where it shows up the most. And Seattle not being able to run against a bad Seattle run defense, Seattle struggled to run the ball with Kenneth Walker, who I think is one of the best backs in the league. I think it's more on the coaching and the scheme than anything. Your thoughts, Will?
Can't figure out this Seattle team because you just go through the results. I mean, they played Detroit tough, and maybe that's the reason for the defensive turnaround. It's just the schedule was pretty tough. The first part of the year where they play the Lions, the 49ers, the Bills, the Rams. But you go through the schedule, they bury Atlanta in Atlanta, but then they lose at home to the Giants. I'm curious if you think they figured things out from the film, but I don't know. This NFC West is interesting. I would say it's probably a two-horse race. I don't really buy into the Rams. I think the 49ers, if they lose this week, we can probably pour dirt on them. So I'm thinking this is a two-team race, but it's probably only going to take, it's interesting, 10 wins, 9 wins, maybe gets it done in the West, depending on tiebreakers.
I think 9 gets it. And I think Seattle, what they've done defensively, they brought in Ernest Jones in the trade from Tennessee. They promoted Tyrese Knight, a rookie 4th-round pick at the linebackers. Remember, they got rid of their linebacking core during the season. I mean, Baker they got rid of, and they got rid of Dotson. So they got rid of the 2 starting linebackers. He was the leading tackler on the team. I don't think he was happy with how they were fitting the run with their run defense at linebacker. And I think that's really one of the areas that they've improved. But I agree with Dave. I think Ryan Grubb will eventually become a good offensive coordinator, but I think he's on the learning curve right now. And I think it affects their run game more than ever. All right, Tyler, we got SAS Sports Guy 52. This is a broad question, but what do you think the 49ers need to do next offseason to bounce back? This is interesting. Tyler's already given up on this season. I think, look, one thing that happened to your team is you get older and you don't cash in. Your older players don't play nearly as well as you hope they would. And we're seeing that with the 49ers. I mean, Deebo Samuel must be injured. He looks nothing like an elite $20 million a year player at wide receiver. Drops the ball, averages under 3 yards per rush. They can't really get him the football. He's not a great route runner. So you've got concerns there. They lose Ayuk. Their quarterback's hurt, right? Trent Williams can't stay healthy, even though they redid his contract. I think this is the toll that you pay for going to the Super Bowl and losing. And I think the Niners probably will get a better draft pick. They need to improve that defensive line tremendously because you cannot run this scheme without 3 or 4 blue and red chip defensive linemen. They only have one. They have one blue chip player in Nick Bosa. Other than that, they have a bunch of solid players, but nobody's in the red category or in the blue category other than Bosa. So I think it starts with the defensive front. Will, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and it's not just they went to the Super Bowl last year. It's every year, NFC title game, Super Bowl, NFC title. I mean, this is the last 5 years they've either been to the NFC title game or the Super Bowl. I think 4 of the 5, and that's just a lot of games, and that adds up. And I think the question is, and you're better at answering this, figuring this out than I am. When do you pay Purdy, and can you still keep the rest of the team intact? Is McCaffrey, or is he still a really good back, or his best days behind him? I know Mason played well when he had to, but I don't know. You just worry from a 49ers perspective. You go to the Super Bowl, you go to the NFC title game. You're so close so many times to winning. You do worry that window doesn't stay open forever. I know the Chiefs have made it look easy. The Patriots made it look easy for 20 years, but that's usually not the way of life in the NFL.
Yeah, I think to me, you're right. The toll of the games kind of wears on. Yeah, I really do. Here, this one I like from Todd Pesatine at Twitter. Mike, what actor has the chops to play Al Davis? This is a great question. When I watch Colin Farrell play in the Penguin and they put all that makeup on him and how they handle him, I'm thinking Colin Farrell would be a great Al Davis. Now, they'd have to make him up. They would have to do it, but he would be a great Al Davis. I mean, you got to have that ability to kind of change your voice reflection. You have to have the right cologne. That's most important. Well, if you don't have the right cologne, nobody's going to buy that you're Al Davis. So it's the cologne, and I think it's the chops. I think I would go with Colin Farrell here. All right, let's go. Jesse,
I thought you were going to go Pacino. I really thought you were going to go with Pacino.
He's too old to play him. Al would be so upset with you if he's saying that, Will. He would be he's too old to play me, And I think it's got to be somebody younger because you look at some of the young pictures of Al with his hair slicked back and the pompadour. I mean, Colin Farrell could pull that off. You can't put him as the old Al Davis, right? I mean, I know everybody just remembers him with that overhead projector talking about Lane Kiffin, but I think to me, you got to put him in there. We'll get one more in here.
Was it 11 French fries? 11 French fries when he went to eat?
11 French fries. You had to have 11. That was it. Don't bring me 12. Bring me 11. You had that German chocolate cake at 3 o'clock. All right. Mr. Lombardi, huge fan. Listen to the show every day. What's your take on the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young? I actually think Bryce Young has gotten better. I really do. I think the team has gotten better. I think they lack so much talent defensively. It's hard. I think they have no pass rush. I know they played County. They got rid of Burns, which I think ended up being a good trade for them. But I think their offensive line improvements that they've made have helped the team. And I think Bryce Young has gotten better. What are your thoughts, Will?
I think he's played well enough where he's probably the starter going into next season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me he's shown enough. I mean, he's gotten better. He's growing. He's not just checking the ball down. I think he showed that I'm not saying he's elite, but look, let's talk C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud hasn't taken over the league like everybody thought he was going to be, right? I mean, he's struggling right now. A lot of it comes to protection.
You say he's growing, not literally, but he's growing as a player, which I know what you mean, but he's not growing physically, which is still an issue.
Yeah, I mean, but the amazing thing about Bryce Young is for the smallest guy in this thing, he stays the healthiest.
He's played
It's
better.
really remarkable.
Well. Yeah.
And he stayed on the field, which is really good. All right, well, that concludes our first hour here on the Lombardi Line, our pre-Thanksgiving edition show. When we come back, we're going to continue to break down these Thanksgiving games. We're going to talk about the big game of the week, Baltimore and Philadelphia in Baltimore, when we come back.
This Black Friday, get a VSiN Pro subscription for just $60 through May 1st. Our best deal of the